Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. The characters: Aeschylus, Prince of Verona; Paris, a young count, kinsman to the prince; Montague, Capulet, heads of two feuding houses; an old man, Capulet's kinsman; Romeo, Montague's son; Mercutio, kinsman to the prince and friend to Romeo; Benvolio, nephew to Montague and friend to Romeo; Tybalt, nephew to Lady Capulet; Friar Lawrence, Friar John, of the Franciscan order; Balthazar, servant to Romeo; Samson, Gregory, Antony, Potpen, servants to Capulet; Peter, servant to Juliet's nurse; Abraham, servant to Montague; an apothecary, 3 musicians; page to Paris, another page; officer, Lady Montague, wife to Montague; Lady Capulet, wife to Capulet; Juliet, daughter to Capulet, nurse to Capulet; citizens of Verona, kinfolk of both houses, maskers, guards, watchmen, and attendants; chorus, announcer. The prologue. Before the play begins, an announcer addresses the audience. Announcer: the play is set in beautiful Verona, in Italy. 2 families of equal noble rank, the Montagues and Capulets, have a long-standing vendetta, which has recently flared up. Their followers have killed each other in civil strife. The children of these mortal enemies were fated to fall in love. Their tragic deaths end their parents' feud. The subject of our 2-hour play is the distressing story of their fatal love affair, the course of their parents' quarrel, and the resolution of this bitterness by their deaths. If you will give us your patient attention, we'll make up for any shortcomings by performing as well as we can. Act 1, Scene 1. As he leaves, the play begins with the entry of Samson and Gregory, 2 servants of the Capulet family. They are armed with swords and small shields, and look ready for trouble. Samson: they'll not rub our noses in the dirt, Gregory, believe me. Gregory: no, because then we'd be as grimy as miners. Samson: I mean, if we get hot under the collar, we'll fight. He grips his sword to show he is ready to draw it. Gregory, agreeing: okay, don't put your neck in a noose. It would be more than your life's worth. Samson: I strike out quickly once my anger is roused. Gregory: but it is not easily roused. Samson: one of those Montague dogs always gets me going. Gregory: to get going means to bestir yourself. To be brave means to stand your ground. If you get going, you'll be running away. Samson: one of those dogs will certainly get me going, and I'll stand my ground too. No man or woman of Montague's would make me step into the gutter. Gregory: that shows what a feeble fellow you are. The weakest always goes to the wall. Samson: that's true. That's why women, being the weaker sex, are always backed against walls. I'll push Montague's men into the road and thrust his women against the wall. Gregory, unhappy with the morality of this: but the feud is only between our masters, and between us, their men. Samson: it's all the same to me. I'll be a villain. When I've fought for all the men, I'll be polite with the maids. I'll cut off their heads. Gregory, aghast: the heads of the maids? Samson: yes, the heads of the maids, or their maiden heads. Take it whichever sense you please. Gregory: those who sense it should feel it. Samson: so long as I can stand, they'll feel me. I'm well known as a swordsman. Gregory: fortunately not as a fish. You'd make a poor catch. He sees 2 Montague men approach and unsheathes his sword, in readiness for trouble. Draw your weapon. Here come 2 of Montague's people. Abraham enters with a fellow servant, Balthazar. Samson: my naked weapon is out. Quarrel with them. I'll back you up. Gregory: how do you mean? turn your back and run? Samson, have no fear. Gregory, no indeed, not of you. Samson, let's have the law on our side. Let them make the first move. Gregory, I'll frown as I pass them. They can take it whichever way they please. Samson, or dare, I'll thumb my nose at them. They'll be disgraced if they put up with that. He makes a quick rude gesture. Abraham, with forced politeness, did you thumb your nose at us, sir? Samson, I thumbed my nose? Abraham, did you, very deliberately, did you thumb your nose at us, sir? Samson, seeking Gregory's advice, is the law on our side if I say yes? Gregory, no. Samson, no, sir, I didn't thumb my nose at you. Sir, but I did thumb my nose. Gregory, are you looking for trouble, sir? Abraham, trouble, sir? No, sir. Samson, because if you are, sir, I'm ready for you. I serve as good a man as you do. Abraham, no, better. Samson, sensing a trap. Well, sir. Benvolio, a Montague, comes into view. Tybalt, a Capulet, is close behind him. Gregory whispering, say better. Here's one of our master's relatives. Samson, yes, better, sir. Abraham, you liar. Samson, draw your sword if you call yourself men. Gregory, remember your slashing stroke, demonstrating with a swish of his sword through the air. Benvolio is dismayed. He rushes in with raised sword. Benvolio, break it up, you fools. You don't know what you are doing. Tybalt, what are you mixing in a brawl with servants? Turn, Benvolio, and face your death. Benvolio, I'm only trying to keep the peace. Put back your sword or use it to help me part these men. Tybalt, what talk of peace with your sword drawn? I hate the word as I hate hell. All Montagues and you. He makes a thrust at Benvolio. Come on then, coward. They fight. 3 or 4 citizens join in. Officer, clubs, battle axes, spears, strike out. Bam! Down! Citizens, down with the Capulets! Down with the Montagues! Old Capulet enters in his nightgown with Lady Capulet, his wife. Capulet, what's all this noise? Calling to his servants. Give me my long sword there. Lady Capulet, mocking his advanced age. A crutch, more like it. A crutch. Why ask for a sword? Capulet, my sword, I say. Old Montague is coming, waving his sword about to provoke me. Old Montague enters with Lady Montague. Montague, you villain, Capulet. Lady Montague tries to restrain him. Don't hold me back. Let me go. Lady Montague, not one single foot towards an enemy. Prince Aeschylus of Verona and his men appear on the scene. Prince, rebels, peacebreakers. His voice is lost in the din. Neighbor killers. The two sides fight on regardless. Are they deaf? Raising his voice. You there! You men there! You beasts! Cooling your door with your own spilt blood on pain of torture. Drop those misused weapons from your blood-stained hands and listen to the verdict of your angry prince. The fighting stops. 3 times the peace of our streets has been disturbed by brawling citizens, and all because of some trifling remark by you, old Capulet, and you, Montague. Our old folk have put aside their sober habits and brandished in their aged hands weapons rusted with disuse, to come between you in your cancerous hatred. If ever you disturb the peace again, your lives will pay the price. For now, let the crowd disperse. You, Capulet, will go along with me. You, Montague, must come this afternoon to my court at Old Freetown. to hear what else I have to say about the matter. Once more, on pain of death, disperse! They all leave, sheepishly, except Montague, Lady Capulet, and Benvolio. Montague, who started all this off again? To Benvolio. Tell us, nephew, were you here when it began? Benvolio, your enemy's servants were fighting, hand to hand, with yours, before I came. I drew my sword to separate them. At the very moment, the hot-headed Tybalt arrived, his sword already out. He swung it around his head, shouted abuse at me, and sliced the air, which, not being hurt, merely swished and hissed in scorn. While we are exchanging cuts and thrusts, others came and fought in pairs, till the prince came and separated them. Lady Montague, where is Romeo? Have you seen him this morning? I'm very glad he was involved in this fight. Benvolio, Madam, on an hour before sunrise, a troubled mind led me to go for a walk beneath a sycamore grove that grows to the west of the city. I saw your son taking an early stroll. I went toward him, but knowing I was there, he hid within the wood. Judging his feelings by my own, what I wanted most was a place where fewest people were to be found. Even my own weary company was one too many. I indulged my whim by not inquiring about his. I gladly avoided my avoider. Montague, he's often been seen there in the morning, his tears supplementing the morning dew, his deep sighs forming new clouds with his breath. But once the cheerful sun starts rising in the east, to dodge the light my gloomy son steals home. He confines himself alone to his room, shutters his windows, locks out daylight, and makes an artificial night for himself. This mood is sinister and alarming, unless the cause can be removed by means of good advice. Benvolio, noble uncle, do you know the cause? Montague, I neither know it nor can find it out from him. Benvolio, have you questioned him at all? Montague, I have, and so have many other friends, but being so withdrawn, he's so secretive, and so close, so far from being understood, that he is like a rosebud that is being eaten by a malicious worm before the bud can spread its leaves and petals to the air and sun. We are as anxious to cure his sorrows as we are to find the reason for them. Romeo enters. Benvolio, look, here he comes. Step aside, if you would. I'll find out what's grieving him, unless he's very obstinate. Montague, I hope you are duly rewarded with the truth. To his wife, come, madame, we'll go. Benvolio, good morning, cousin. Romeo, is it so early? Benvolio, it's just past 9. Romeo, sighing deeply, oh my, time drags when you're sad. Was that my father who went off so quickly? Benvolio, it was. What's the sadness that makes time drag for you, Romeo? Romeo, not having what would make time fly if it were mine. Benvolio, in love? Romeo, out? Benvolio, of love? Romeo, out of favor with my loved one. Benvolio, alas, that Cupid so gentle as in appearance should be so dominating and difficult in action. Romeo, alas, that Cupid, in spite of his blindfold, should see his objective so clearly. Where shall we have dinner? He sighs again. Oh dear, what was the fighting about? Don't tell me, I've heard it all about it. It has a lot to do with hate, but more with love. We learn why later. Romeo and Montague loves Rosalina, Capulet. He indulges in some heavy self-pity. Oh, brawling love, oh, loving hate, nothing can come from nothing. Oh, heavy light-heartedness, serious foolishness, things looking good that are all a grotesque muddle, leaden feather, bright smoke, cold fire, sick health, wide awake sleep, which isn't sleep at all. I'm in love, but it's not returned. He looks at Benvolio, self-consciously. Are you laughing? Benvolio, no, cousin. Weeping, rather. Romeo, dear fellow, what at? Benvolio, at your heartache. Romeo, that's the nature of love. My sorrows will increase if you add your own to them. This love you've shown just adds more grief to my plentiful stock. Love is smoke, the fumes of sighing. When it clears away, it's the sparkling fire in lovers' eyes. Cross it, and it's a sea swollen with lovers' tears. What else is it? A wise madness, a deadly poison, a healing medicine. He tries to take his leave. Farewell, cousin. He turns to go. Benvolio, catching his sleeve. Just a moment. I'll go with you. You do me an injustice to leave me like this. Romeo, I'm not myself. I'm not with you. This isn't Romeo here. He's somewhere else. Benvolio, seriously now, who's the girl? Romeo, what shall I groan and tell you? Benvolio, groan? Well, no, but tell me in all seriousness. Who is it? Romeo, ask a sick man to make his will in all seriousness. Not very tactful to one that is so ill. Seriously, cousin, I'm in love with a woman. Benvolio, dryly, I had that target in mind when I assumed you were in love. Romeo, we well aimed then, and the one I love is beautiful. Benvolio, an eye-catching target is easiest to hit. Romeo, well, you missed that time. She's proof against Cupid's arrows. She has the goddess Diana's wisdom. She's so well armored in defense of her virginity that she can't be wounded by the little fellow's weak bow. She can't be won by sweet love talk. She's invulnerable to loving looks. She wouldn't sell herself, not even for the kind of money that would tempt a saint. Oh, she is rich in beauty. She's only poor in the sense that when she dies, her beauty and fertility will cease. Benvolio, then she has sworn never to marry. Romeo, she has, and what a waste there is in saving herself like that. Her virginity denies all future generations of her beauty. It isn't fair that her beauty, her wisdom, and her virtue should win her a place in heaven at the expense of my suffering. She has vowed never to love, and that vow means I must endure a living death. Benvolio, take my advice. Forget her. Romeo, teach me how to forget to think. Benvolio, by letting your eyes roam. Look at other beautiful girls. Romeo, that would only make me value her exquisite charms the more. The dark veils which beautiful ladies wear make us think of the fair charms that lie hidden. The blind man can never forget the uninestimable value of his lost eyesight. Show me a lady who is extremely beautiful. Of what significance is her beauty, except to remind me of one who exceeds her in loveliness? Goodbye. You cannot teach me to forget. Benvolio, I'll win my point or die in the attempt. Both go off.